Hello, everyone. And this is another little video I want to put out. And this one is called Being Nosy. Nosiness is surveillance. So just keep in mind that these are my opinions based on life experience, the life experiences of others, research, and observations in life. And never will I get on here and think anybody is supposed to follow any of these suggestions. But this video and many others are to help protect our peace and our personal business specifically. So let's get started. How long have you been in this area? How much did you pay for your car? So, how much did you pay for your home? Are you and your mom and dad close? These questions, oh, one more, sorry. What's your salary? These questions, now let me get into it, can sound very intrusive, especially coming from someone whom you're not close to. Now, that person may feel that they're close enough to you to ask those sort of questions, but you don't feel like you're close enough to them for them to be asking those sort of questions. And then most people who respect your space and respect you aren't going to ask questions like that. Oftentimes, I wait for people to volunteer the information. And even if, excuse me, even if they volunteer a little information, I don't do a lot of probing. Probing is a nervous thing. Like when someone probes into my business, even if we're talking about certain things and they start probing and their questions become uncomfortable, then I become suspicious. So wait for me to say something to you about that particular thing before you probe, you know. And a lot of questions are framed to fit the conversation, but it leads to getting the tea on you. So let me think of an example. Okay, let's say someone's having an issue and they call someone over to help them out. And that person comes over to help them out. And then the person that's helping them is being helpful. But then that person who called for the help may have a son or another relative living with them. And that person who came over to help may say, well, how often is your nephew here or your niece or whoever here? I mean, do they help you with this kind of stuff? And then the person who called for the help may say, "Oh yeah, well, they're here. Um, they're at work right now." And then that other person may say, "Yeah, because I was just wondering, how come they didn't really want to help you? I mean, are you getting any help from them?" Well, see, here's where it gets a little polluted now, because now they're delving into something that really doesn't have much to do with why you call them over. But they're using that as an opportunity to further pry into your business with maybe that nephew or that niece or that son or that daughter that may live with you. So now they using that. So that's what I mean by framing the conversation, framing the questions to fit the conversation or the narrative, to lead to getting more information, to being able to dig deep. And people who ask a lot of questions, I'm never comfortable with, because I always want to know, why does the things that you asking, why do you want to know them? You see, why do you want to know them? Even if someone were to call me over and they were going through some type of emotional distress, I'm not going to inundate them with a whole bunch of questions. My job is only to be comforting. And inundating someone with a whole bunch of questions is not comforting. That's not comforting. Listening is comforting. An occasional nod is comforting. Holding their hand or touching their shoulder, that's comforting. Inundating someone with a whole bunch of questions is not comforting, because now you could make them feel uncomfortable, especially if they are a private individual and they may just call you over just to vent or just to say how they feel. But when the individual starts crying, that happened to me once. Okay. And I didn't answer not one question. The only thing I kept doing was shaking my head with, no, that's not it. And then she would ask another question. No, that's not it either. And even if it was, the answer is no, that's not it, because it wasn't none of her business. You can rest assured that I never uh, had any conversations with her again. Okay. Because you're not there to interrogate, you're there to comfort. If they ask you to come over because they're having an issue. And even if you think that your questioning means well, interrogation doesn't really land very well on most people. Okay. This is why I say nosiness is surveillance. See, you got to understand that. And a lot of times we overlook certain things because we think people mean well, or we think, that it's harmless. It's not always. It's not always harmless. But we have to think for ourselves in a way where we say, now I need to protect my business. I need to protect my personal business. And that's why I say questions like, how much did you pay for this house? How much did you pay for that car? What is your salary? Or how much do they pay at your job? Now, think about that last one I said. How much do they pay at your job? See how that's framed? They may not even say, how much do you make? How much do they pay? How much they paying at your job? Because it's framed where they would get an idea of what you're making. Okay. So we have to be careful when they ask a question and it doesn't seem to directly be at us, but in a general sense, where they can gather information just by the little breadcrumbs that you do offer after they question you. I don't like nosy people. I'm just going to put it on out there. I don't like nosy people. Nosy people always seem like they have an ulterior motive. And I'm not saying anything wrong. Nosy people are never helpful. Okay. And they'll put it out there in the name of being concerned. Oh, no. Nosy people love to gossip. These types of people, they are bone carriers. Oh, yeah. And they'll bring you one too. Okay. I found out not too long ago that somebody called themselves spilling the tea on me. Well, that tea wasn't very sweet because they didn't have very much to go on, because there's not a whole lot of meat on those bones, and oftentimes they try to embellish and add more to it or make hay out of what little bit they may know. But it's not a whole lot you can get from me. The stuff I put on social media is usually made to entertain or to help people. I'm not preaching or anything like that, but helping to protect our peace and our personal business is one thing we all need to be doing. Okay. Because here's the thing about that. We set alarms on our cars. We set alarms on our homes. We lock our car door. We lock our house up. We have safes in our home where we protect certain valuables. We always make sure the house is locked down during the night. And we protect everything tangible or everything we consider valuable. But we don't protect our business. We don't protect our peace of mind. And protecting your business is protecting your peace of mind, because you can go to bed and rest assured that nobody out there has any dirt on you or has any tea on you or whatever. Okay. So these uncomfortable and unprompted questions always do seem to pry. And when you start questioning me, I'm wondering why you're questioning me. Because the last time I checked, I didn't think I really had an answer to anybody but the creator. Okay, especially if you're questioning me about something that has nothing to do with you, or that's not going to enhance your life one way or the other. And this is how we need to be thinking when we think about stuff like this. Those types of people also, here's one thing that we need to be aware of. If you know the person's name that you don't want in your business and you do not want to share things with, before they find you, you find them on social media and block them. Okay. Because they tend to, whatever they can't get from you personally that you don't volunteer or answer to, what they'll do is they'll surveillance your social media. Yeah, that's a big thing now. 30 or 40 years ago, I don't know how long social media been out. I think it's been out roughly close to 2 decades now, if not that. Okay. But there was a time when we can have an unlisted phone number. So if your phone number was unlisted, 9 out of 10, your address was unlisted. And we could actually be more private. Let's say 1990, 95, or whatever. Me and my ex-husband, we had an unlisted number. People couldn't just find you. We didn't have social media back then. So people couldn't surveillance you. And I don't put on social media what I have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and what vacation I'm going on. I don't do all that. Mm-mm. Now, let's say I went to Jamaica. I may not post it till after I come back. Okay. Because if someone knows where you live and they know you're going to Jamaica this weekend, that's their opportune time to see if they can break in your house and steal stuff. We never know. But getting back to the whole surveillance thing, I don't put anything out there that has anything to do with me personally. Like if I'm going through a medical episode, people do not know it. If I'm going through a financial episode, people do not know it. If I had eggs for breakfast, it's not on social media. And this is where we have to think about, because unfortunately, social media does not tell you who's been viewing your information. Well, I don't know now, but there's a lot of platforms out there that don't share that information with you about who's been viewing your social media activity. And I always thought that when people don't tell me they saw something on my social media, or and they'll look at it and don't put a like on it. You don't have to like anything, but a lot of times people don't, when you have the nosy people, that is, they'll never tell you they saw your social media. They'll just look at what you've been doing and trying to figure you out through your social media activity. But they'll never come out and say, they saw something. Now, this is for the nosy people. These are for the surveillancers. Okay. Um, so they're not gonna tell you, oh, I saw your social media, and nope, they're not gonna do it. Unless they trying to one up you and then turn around and tell you they saw something and try to criticize you over it. Okay, because sometimes they can't help themselves like that. But when people do stuff like that and they're just watching you quietly, they need to ask themselves, why are they doing that? Why are you just on somebody's social media platform, just watching what they do? You're not commenting, you're not, indicating in any way that you saw it or whatever. And let me tell you, if when someone is doing that, or let's say someone you know personally or whatever is a nosy person, block them. Block them. Because a lot of times people surveillance your life just to have something to talk about. I consider nosy people as being very scared of their own life because they're nosy in everybody's business but their own. Is it something that they're scared of finding out if they start minding their own business? Things that make you go, hmm. So if you start minding your business, is this something you're afraid of finding out about yourself? I'm just saying. And I'm just telling those people who are dealing with stuff like this to, you may not be able to unlist your number. See, nowadays, your information's out there. People can pull up your address. People can pull up your name. People can pull up your cell phone and find out where you are. And I think that there are certain sites where you can have your stuff blocked. But I don't think you can lock down all of your information entirely. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to be vigilant to block as much stuff from the people we know are known nosy people, busybodies. We have to block as much stuff as we can from them. Okay. So, like for example, I might uh, go on, create a page, and I might have a whole entirely different name up there. Now, I may be trying to reach followers who are into music or maybe into videos that, because certain videos I do are music videos, certain videos I do are acting videos. So I may be trying to reach a certain type of viewer. So I don't have to know who my followers are as far as if they are entertained by music. People who love to hear music, they're gonna search for music. They're gonna follow people who compose music if they like what you're putting out. So we don't have to be friends per se as far as that goes. They can just follow me to hear my productions or see my productions, and that's fine. So we don't have to know one another personally because I'm only out there for that purpose. It's just to show music or videos or whatever. Okay. So people who may be in my personal life, if you're not a big music lover, it's no reason for you to follow me. If you're not a person that likes short film or whatever, it's no real reason for you to follow me. Why are you following me otherwise? So if I put a video out there and you don't comment on it, then maybe you didn't like it. Maybe my type of content ain't for you. Why are you following me? You don't need to follow me because I'm on social media mainly for entertainment, but clean entertainment. I don't do sexualized and all of that stuff. My stuff is rated G. So people who want to, take a break from all the stuff going on in the world and all the pollution, and they might just want to see a good old story or a good old suspense or whatever, guess what? I create that kind of content. So we need to be proactive in certain people we may know in our personal life that we may not be very comfortable with, to block them away from that, because that's just one more way that they can surveillance you. If you're nosy, I don't need you looking at my videos. I don't need you listening to my music. I don't need any of it, because you're not a fan follower or somebody who just enjoying what I'm putting out. You're there just to be nosy. So I don't need those type of people around me. And this is why I always say, be unapologetically true to yourself. I don't have to apologize to anybody. Well, I'm sorry, I can't. No, I can't. We need to stop clarifying our responses to people or our message to people when we see that they're out there up to no good. We need to call them on it unapologetically, and we need to state our position unapologetically. And this is not something I'm trying to be negative about, but what I'm seeing a lot of are people that are out there just running amok into people's business, running amok, bothering other people, running amok, harassing and antagonizing people. And the people that are being antagonized are either too afraid or too nice or too naive to, or they don't realize that they can actually stand up for themselves and say, hey, stop being nosy. That's none of your business. And if the nosy person is offended by it, well, then maybe you should stop being so nosy. How about that? Stop being nosy. You set yourself up when you ask me about my business. And if I say, well, I don't really even want to get into that. Someone asked me one day about my daughter. Is that your daughter? Yeah, or they saw her on a call or some kind of Zoom call, Teams call, whatever. Was that your daughter? Yes, my daughter. And she says, how old is she? That's where I'm like, wait a minute. And so I said, well, she's in her 20s. Now, let's stop right there. She asked me, was that my daughter that she saw in the background behind me when we were all on a conference call? And when she said, is that your daughter? Yeah, that's my daughter. How old is she? And when I said she's in her 20s, that's when the interrogator should have stopped. Let me tell you why. Because as a mother, by me not precisely, or let's say stating her age specifically, by saying something like, oh, she's 26 or whatever. She wasn't 26 at the time, by the way. That should have told that nosy person. Let me stop right here, because Randa don't seem to be very forthcoming with information. And maybe she's uncomfortable. And if someone had did me like that, I would have said that. I would have said to myself, oh, okay. And I would have let it go. Because any mother knows exactly how old her child is. So by me not giving you a specific number, that should have stopped you. And that was my way of stopping you. That was my way of telling you don't go any further than that. So I said, oh, she's in her 20s. And I tried to go on to something else. You know what she says? Is she married? I said, I don't talk about my child's business. See, that last question you asked should have, or that last answer you got from me should have stopped you right there. So then what she does is pull somebody else's name. Oh, only if it's so-and-so, then you'll tell. No, first of all, stop being a hater. Okay, just because I don't tell you something and you think I'm telling this other person something. Let's stop that right there, because that's petty. Some people are petty ready. Okay? Trust me when I tell you that. Some people are petty ready. So you're being messy and you're being petty. Okay. And I'm like, not particularly. But even if the person's name that you dragged into this mess, even if I did tell her stuff, that's none of your business. You just can't help yourself. You got to keep on with prying into someone's business. Now, aren't we something? And this is a true story. Sometimes I cannot help but to comment on the stuff that I see because it's almost a thing of I be telling myself, I know I didn't just now see that happen, or I know I didn't just now hear that. And these oftentimes are grown folks, some of them older than me, and I done already hit 60. And it's like, I can't believe you're still there. Sometimes we can't believe people are still there. And I'm not putting anybody down, but come on, work on this stuff. And stuff that I'm working on, I'm glad to share it with people as to how I'm working on it and working it out of me. If it's something I need to work on, that's cool. But people don't want to work on this stuff. And then you get offended when someone decides to tell you to go mind your business and sit you in the corner and you're like, then you want to attack. Yeah, then you want to attack. Oh, well, if it's so and so, then you would have told her. It's like, why are you dragging somebody else in this? She has nothing to do with this. Because now you have to strike back. That person had to strike back because they didn't like the answer that I gave them. And I didn't apologize either. I didn't say, well, I'm sorry, I don't talk to. No, I specifically said, because see, when someone's nosy, you have to be unapologetic. Because a lot of times people fish their way around another way. So you have to like slam the door in their face almost. I don't talk about my child's business, okay? And so let's move on. And I wasn't going to apologize about it because I meant it. And see, that's the thing. We have to mean what we say. Now, here's the thing. I never worried about someone liking me because popularity was not something I ever aspired to be popular. Okay. But what I do aspire to be is to have the same respect for me that I have for you or I have shown you. Okay. I don't tell people how to run their business. I don't tell people none of that. Okay. You run your business the way you want. And I don't tell people how to feel. If they're feel People have come to me and talked to me about some ways that they may have been feeling about stuff. And even though I might not really put that much emotional energy in it, I can't tell them not to. I can't tell you how not to feel. If that's how you feel, I get it. Because we all see things through the lens of our own life experience. So that's the way that it is. So I'm not going to be apologetic about where I stand with stuff. I'm going to state where my position is and I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to stand on my square. So when she starts going all in about somebody else, what she was trying to do was pull me into a conversation, a messy conversation in a way. You're striking back because you don't like how you felt about me standing on my square. So now you have to attack. Well, only if it's so and so. I said no, and that person was actually sitting there when they heard this whole conversation because they were on this conference call with us. It was like a video conference. And that person said, whoa, 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 what I got to do with this? And I said, yeah, she doesn't have anything to do with this. In other words, stop it, old lady. You're too old for this. You got grandkids. And you still doing this stuff? Huh, that's the problem. People never work these things out of their character as they on their journey on in life. And by the time they're 70, they look up and they're still petty, or they're still messy, and they're still nosy, and they just can't help themselves. But we're never too old to work on things. Matter of fact, as we get older, our aim should be to become wiser. It is never too late for us to work on certain things. I don't think it's too late. Like I said, I've hit my 60s now. I don't think I don't think it's too late. I look at life every day and say, what can I do to make myself better? What can I do to improve in this? What can I do to improve in that? What can I do to improve my speech? How about I improve the way I think about stuff? And now I've gotten to the point where I'm saying that, Miranda, you have to handle things differently. You have to take another approach. Some people you can't really talk to, and you need to just leave it at that. And that's why I leave it at that. So that's what I wanted to say today. Just remember, nosiness is surveillance. If you feel yourself being let me start over. If you feel uncomfortable about certain questions that are being asked of you, and this person is not your doctor that's getting ready to operate on you, okay, or not someone that you feel close enough to share certain information with, cut it off at the door and let them know that they are being intrusive. And what's with all the questions? And you can even ask them, flip it around. Okay, why is it that you need to know this? I'm just curious as to why you need to know this. Or if they're framing questions to fit the conversation, and it seems like it's leading to get information on you, you can back them up and say, oh, what does this have to do with what we were talking about? And the reason why I'm putting the videos out here like this is because I have people talking to me about stuff that they're going through. And some of this stuff I've gone through myself. That's why I say it's based on my experiences, experiences of others, and even observation. Even I've sat there and watched people do stuff to other people. And you're sitting there like, why is that so important to them though? And the other person is like, look, leave it alone. This is where I'm at with it. And y'all need to just, okay, I don't want to do that right now. Well, let them not do it. They know they live in that body and they live in that life. And they know what they don't feel like doing. And it really boggles my mind sometimes when I see this kind of stuff. Like, come on, y'all, leave so and so alone. They know where they're trying to go, what direction they want to go in. I'm sure that, they know who they are by now. But at times, now I'm going to be fair and balanced. At times, people may mean well. They may mean well. Those are the people that I find that if I don't want to talk about something or let them know, I don't want to go down that road. If they mean well, they're not going to get upset about it. Think about it. Because there have been people I've said, well, I don't really want to go there. And they, okay, yeah, I understand. Now that person may have been really being helpful. But when you had those folks questioning you and you back them up, they strike at you. That's when you know you had an ulterior motive. And here's the thing, you have every right by your creator who gave you the right to protect your peace and your personal business. Okay, y'all, I'm going to get on out of here. And until next time, I'll talk to you darlings later. So, signing off, and y'all have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Bye bye.